What's up, everybody, and welcome to Bunches of Lunches Summer Edition. I'm Jennifer, and this week I have 4 fun but easy lunch ideas to share with you. And friends, this week was extra special because we had the opportunity to preview the new Tiana's Bayou adventure ride. So come along with us for that. We'll take you on the ride with us, tell you what we thought, and then I had to go back home and put together a Princess Tiana themed lunch. This week I'll also be sharing a Father's Day inspired lunch and a couple of subscriber requested lunches too. So if you haven't already, I would love it if you'd give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for even more fun lunch ideas just like these. Okay friends, now the first lunch I'm going to make is that one inspired by Princess Tiana. Now a few days ago, when we made it to the Magic Kingdom, we had about 1 hour to spare before our reservations. So we were able to stop and just enjoy the parade. But during the parade, we found out that there was some kind of problem with Tiana's Bayou adventure and that it was shut down, and we were going to need to hang out for about 5 hours and then hopefully get to ride it. So during that time, not only was it like 100 degrees, but it was also storming off and on. So basically, we spent that time doing all of the relaxing and slow attractions at the park. We got some Dole Whips and we took them into the Tiki Room. We went on the riverboat cruise. We did the Carousel of Progress, the People Mover, and we even were able to get on Tron. But after all of that, it was finally our turn. Now I have to say that the outside of this ride is absolutely beautiful. I love what they did with this. I love all the plants and the water tower. It is really nice. And then of course the queue itself is also really fun and colorful. I especially love all the pictures on the wall of Tiana and her family. And I also loved this kitchen scene. Seriously, the attention to detail in here really reminds me of rides from Tokyo Disneyland. Now for the ride itself, I don't want to give away too many spoilers for you guys, but officially this ride opens on June 28th, and instead of telling the exact same story that you see in the Princess and the Frog movie, this ride is actually supposed to be the next chapter of Princess Tiana's story. So the movie and the ride are not exactly the same. This ride has lots of new critters, lots of music, and yes, you still get the big splash at the end. Overall, we gave this ride 2 thumbs up, and we would definitely do it again. So now back to today's lunch. I'm going to start by making the sweet treat first. And for this, I'm making some cheater air fryer beignets. Now I say cheater because this way is not how Princess Tiana would make them at all. But friends, these ones are super easy to make and they're very tasty, so that's what I'm going for. I just opened a can of the honey butter flavored biscuits, and these are the flaky layered kind. And now I'm just cutting these into 4 pieces. I want these to be on the smaller side. Next, I'm going to brush each one with butter. That's going to really help these stay moist and give them more of a fried flavor without them actually being fried. Now before I add these into my air fryer, I do like to add some parchment paper just for easier cleanup. And then these go in at 375 for about 4 minutes. And then I flip them over and cook them for about 4 more minutes. Now while these are still hot, I do like to go ahead and dust them with a good amount of powdered sugar. And yes, this process is a little bit messy, but totally worth it. My air fryer is on the smaller side, so I had to do this in a couple of batches. Now honestly, these aren't as fluffy as the authentic beignets would be, but if you dig into these while they're still hot and fresh, they are fire. So now back to the rest of the lunch. For the main course, I wanted my kids to try gumbo for the first time, since I know in the movie, Tiana loves making her special gumbo recipe. Now I took some help from the store with mine, but basically this has celery, bell peppers, onions, lots of Creole seasoning, and sausage. Oh yes, and I'm putting extra rice in here as well. Personally, I've only ever tried gumbo one time, and it was at Disneyland in California. But you guys let me know in the comments down below if you've ever tried gumbo before. Now to go along with with the gumbo, I also want to make a fun tea sandwich. And of course, I have to make this frog-shaped. For the filling, I'm adding one of my kids' favorites, some herb cream cheese, and then some thinly sliced cucumber. And then I have to make a tiny crown to go with this. For the fruit and veggies, I'm going with everything green. I'm gonna add some kiwi, lots of grapes, and these grapes are going to get lots of these cute little frog picks. And then I'm also adding some celery. Now, usually I like to make something called ants on a log. That's where you use peanut butter and raisins, but instead I'm making frogs on a log. For this, I use more of that herb cream cheese, and instead of raisins, I'm using some steamed edamame. Now I want to go ahead and fill this in a little bit more, so I'm going to add just a few pieces of cucumber that I've cut into flowers. Now at this point, I can go ahead and add back in our sweet treat, our mini cheater beignets. I can add just a few right over here. And then for the drink, I'm just mixing up a nice green limeade. This is tart and sweet and really refreshing. Next up, in honor of Father's Day, I'm making a Goofy movie inspired lunch. And that's because Goofy is my favorite Disney dad. And you guys have to let me know in the comments down below if you've ever seen a Goofy movie. It was one of my favorite Disney movies growing up, and I still love it to this day. Now, this movie does have a lot of food in it, but I knew for the main course of this lunch, I wanted to try to make that extra cheesy pizza that Max and PJ enjoy at the hotel. So to make this pizza, I'm gonna start with some store-bought pizza dough. I'll go ahead and spread that out. And then to give this pizza extra flavor, I'm going to put together a special sauce. And it starts with some melted butter. To this butter, I'm also going to add lots of Italian seasoning, some garlic powder, and some onion powder. Once that's all mixed up, I'm going to generously paint it all over the dough. Next, I'm using some store-bought pizza sauce. I'm going to spread that all over and then move on to the cheese. And you guys, I'm using a lot of cheese. Way more cheese than I would normally use. First, I'm going to take some sliced mozzarella cheese and I'm going to add a layer of this, followed by even more mozzarella, but this time I'm using a block of whole milk mozzarella and I'm gonna go ahead and shred this up, and I think I'm probably gonna use about an entire pound of cheese. Now the pizza in the movie looked mostly white with a little bit of yellow, so I'm also going to be adding a little bit of shredded cheddar cheese. And for the pepperonis themselves, I'm going to use a combination of both large pepperoni and small pepperoni. Now I'm gonna pop this in my oven at 375 for about 20 minutes, but I don't want the cheese to get too brown because I want it to be as close to the movie as possible. And here it is, you guys. This smells so good. I really think that garlic butter is gonna add so much delicious flavor. And I'm really hoping for a cheese pull here. You guys, I cannot believe with so much cheese on this pizza, I did not get much of a cheese pull until I actually pulled it apart like this. But that's okay. I know my kids are going to love this. So since these are summer lunches, I am using trays instead of lunch boxes. I'll go ahead and add on a pizza slice and then move on to the fruit and veggie. First, I'm adding some Goofy grapes. And then to go along with this, I'm adding some carrot chips with plenty of ranch for dipping. Now for some snacks on the side, I have a couple of different ideas. It wouldn't be a Goofy movie reference without some Cheese Whiz. Well, in this case, some generic Cheese Whiz. I'm gonna go ahead and add this to some crackers. And yes, I'm gonna try to make this cheese as tall as I can, like the Leaning Tower of Cheesa. Now I'm gonna add a couple of these crackers right in this section. And yes, I'm making those into a tower as well. In this movie, Goofy really wants to go fishing with his son Max, and they have the perfect cast. So for an extra snack, I'm also adding some cheddar fish crackers. I'm just gonna fill in all of the extra spaces with these crackers. And then you guys, for the sweet treat, I have something different in mind. You know the part in the movie where they're at the restaurant and Max orders some eggs and bacon? Well, Goofy orders a short stack of pancakes. So I'm gonna take these mini pancakes and they're gonna be the sweet treat for this lunch. I'll add a little butter on top and of course some maple syrup. And then last but not least, for the drink, in honor of Powerline, I'm gonna be adding some orange Powerade. Now I really wish they had lime Powerade, that would have been good too, but I had to settle with orange. And there you have it, friends, a lunch in honor of my favorite Disney dad, Goofy. Now this next lunch idea was sent in by one of our awesome subscribers, Giselle from Chicago, Illinois, and she requested a butterfly themed lunch. And for the main course, I'm putting together a BLT. I've already got some bacon cooking, so I'm gonna go ahead and slice up these tomatoes. I'm gonna try to get them nice and thin, and I wanna go ahead and season these as well. Next, I'm going to cut the bread into a butterfly shape. Add some mayo. This is a little bit too much mayo, but that's okay. Now I actually Googled the correct order of ingredients when you make a BLT, and it said to do lettuce first, then your bacon, followed by the tomato. Next, I'm going to cut out the top piece of bread, and then using my food writer pens, I'm going to color in my sandwich stamp. And you guys, I'm using purple for this because Giselle actually requested lots of purple items for this lunch. And there you have it, guys, a butterfly BLT. Now moving on to the fruit, Giselle requested watermelon, and I'm gonna go ahead and make these into melon balls. Now to dress these up just a bit, I'm going to add in just a couple of food picks. These little daisy ones are from Japan and they are so cute. Now to go along with the watermelon, Giselle also requested corn on the cob. Now for this, I'm just going to pop this in some boiling water for a few minutes to soften it up. Then I'll season with some butter and some salt. For a snack on the side, I'm adding some cheese and crackers, but not just regular cheese and crackers. I'm going with the butterfly shaped crackers, and I'll be using this butterfly shaped cookie cutter to cut the cheese. For Giselle's sweet treat, I'm going to start by frosting some blueberry muffins with purple, of course. And then to decorate the top, I'm just gonna add one of these edible butterfly decorations. And finally, to finish off this lunch, I'm going to be adding some grape Kool-Aid. This turned out to be such a cute lunch, but it was actually really easy to put together. Okay friends, next up I have another awesome subscriber requested lunch. This one was sent in by Caitlin from the UK. For Caitlin's lunch, I'm going to start with her sweet treat first because it's gonna take a little time to set up. She requested a Rice Krispie treat, but she also requested lots of blue things in this lunch, so I'm gonna make a blueberry Rice Krispie treat. If you're like me and love Rice Krispie treats, but you don't always wanna make a full batch, this recipe is for you. I started by melting about a tablespoon of butter in my microwave safe mug. This took about 20 seconds. Then to that, I'm adding about 3/4 of a cup of mini marshmallows, and this is going back in the microwave for another 20 seconds or so, just to make sure the marshmallows are melted. And now comes the cereal. Now normally I would use just 3/4 of a cup of Rice Krispie cereal, but this time I'm using half Rice Krispie cereal and half Blue blueberry pie cereal that I found at Walmart. This cereal smells so good. It really does smell like blueberries, but the shape reminds me of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. So once the cereal is completely coated with the melted marshmallow and the butter, I'm gonna dump it out onto a greased plate, and using a bit of parchment paper, I'm going to press it down into kind of a square. Now I say this is a single serve Rice Krispie treat, but it really does make quite a large one. So if you feel like sharing, you definitely could. I'm gonna add some blue sprinkles. Now I'm gonna set this aside to set up while I move on to the rest of the lunch. For Caitlin's main course, she requested a waffle PB&J. And sticking with our blue theme, I went ahead and got these deluxe, extra fluffy blueberry waffles. I'm gonna go ahead and stick these in the toaster, and when they're done, on one of them, I'm going to add plenty of extra chunky peanut butter. And then on the other one, I'm going to add some of this jam from the UK. This one has blueberries and black currants. I'll put the two sides together, and then I'm gonna go ahead and cut it up. Now, I would love to know in the comments down below, what is your favorite way to have a PB&J? So now moving on to the fruit. First, I'm gonna be adding lots of pineapple, and then to this, you guessed it, more blueberries. And then for Caitlin's veggie, I'm doubling up here. I'm gonna start by crinkle cutting some cucumbers. And then to go along with that, I already cut up some carrots. And of course, I don't wanna forget the ranch. Next, for Caitlin's snack, she requested any kind of chips or crackers, and I was looking for something that I haven't tried before. So while I was at Target, I found this dill pickle popcorn that sounds really interesting, so I'm gonna stick some right over here. And now friends, right next to that, I have just enough space for these extra gooey blueberry Rice Krispie treats. And keeping with our blueberry theme, for Caitlin's drink, she requested a blueberry lemonade, and I actually found a really interesting one. Now I know right now it doesn't look like blueberry lemonade, but that's because the drink mix is actually in the lid. This kind of reminds me of a Japanese ramen drink, but of course this one is not carbonated, but it does have extra probiotics in it. I just pressed on the little tab on top and it released the powder, and now I can shake it up.